Now we know why Blake Lively settled this late in the case.
They didn't want these texts to come out. Not ever. And you know, just like I know, that when powerful people start deleting posts and scrubbing their LinkedIn pages clean in the middle of the night, it's because something got exposed that was never supposed to see daylight.
Major legal teams that Blake Lively hired for this case, they bragged on LinkedIn on how this was a big victory for Blake Lively, and now it seems like they have deleted the post. Also, we have some new text messages between Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover. These texts clearly show the plotting that was going on behind the scenes, and also the love bombing and manipulation from Blake.
So let's talk about what just dropped. Court documents were unsealed. Text messages between Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover are now public. And what's inside them tells you everything you need to know about how this whole operation actually worked. Not the version Blake's PR machine fed to the New York Times. The real version. The one they spent millions trying to bury. But before I get to those texts, let's start with the lawyers, because this part is almost too perfect. Blake Lively's legal team, Mannett, Phelps, and Phillips, posted a celebratory message on LinkedIn. Big victory, they said. Favorable settlement for Blake, they said. They even included a quote from their attorney, calling it a critical step in Blake's pursuit of justice.
The post that Mannett, Phelps, and Phillips published on their LinkedIn a few days ago. I think I spoke about this just late last week. And it said, a Mannett team led by Ezra Hudson secured a favorable settlement for Blake Lively in her case against Justin Baldoni and Wayfair Studios. This marks another critically important step in Ms. Lively's pursuit of justice after raising concerns about inappropriate behavior during production of It Ends With Us and the subsequent retaliation campaign levied against her. Then they have a picture of Ezra Hudson here and a little quote from her saying, from day one, Blake Lively's mission was clear: expose and hold accountable those who weaponize smear campaigns and retaliatory lawsuits to intimidate and silence survivors. That mission continues.
There was a photo. There was fanfare. There was pride. And then it was gone. Deleted, scrubbed like it never existed.
Anyways, this was their post. And it's gone. Isn't that funny? After I reported on this post, I don't know if people went over there and started commenting on it and they were like, maybe we should just review this. Anyways, it's gone now. I forwarded it to Brian Friedman as well, who thought obviously that this was really insane. So yes, I guess Mannett is not so proud of this victory anymore, or maybe they're just embarrassed that they were caught in lying. Talking about deleted posts.
Right after people started asking questions, right after the internet started pointing out that a woman who won doesn't usually walk away with $0. Not a cent. Not one single cent of the $300 million she was chasing. And the reason for that? Well, you'll see. Here's the thing, though. You already knew something was off. We all knew. The moment this settlement landed and the details started leaking, something didn't add up. Blake's team tried to frame it as a moral victory, a mission accomplished. They actually told People magazine, and I want you to hear this clearly, that for Blake Lively, this was never about money. She just wanted to expose the bad actors. She wanted to protect other survivors. She waited to settle until the documents were public because she cares so deeply about the greater good. She spent $50 million on this lawsuit. For the greater good. For other people. Not for herself. I need you to stay with me here because this is the part nobody talks about. There was no smear website targeting Blake Lively. Not one. The other cases involving the same PR operatives Blake accused, those cases had actual smear websites. Documented, traceable, real. Blake couldn't point to a single article, a single fabricated story, a single lie pushed about her online. Because there wasn't one.
Any lies that were spread about her online, and there wasn't any smear website about her. And the other cases that are insinuating that these people are involved in smearing someone, there was a smear website, and that's what it's all about.
And yet, she dragged this into federal court, burned through tens of millions of dollars, weaponized the language of domestic violence survival, and then settled for nothing. Walked away with nothing.
On this settlement, but the excuse for her settling later in the case made me just laugh so hard. Just listen to this. So it says here that the Wayfarer's lawyers say Blake Lively didn't get a cent of a $300 million sought prior to settlement. A filing confirmed Lively received no settlement payout, but a judge must decide whether she can recover fees or damages under California anti-retaliation law. So the fact that this has become public knowledge must really infuriate Blake Lively's attorneys. I'm sure they fought really hard to keep this part of the settlement secret. As you know, Blake
And called it a win.
And feelings. So here's a source who told People magazine something really interesting. They say that for Blake Lively, this was never about money. Okay, we already heard she said that. It was about exposing bad actors who are also harming others. So now it's not about Blake anymore, it's about others. She didn't settle her claims until the documents exposing the bad actors behind smear campaigns were made public.
Now, the texts. These exchanges between Blake and Colleen Hoover were unsealed alongside other documents from the case, including messages between Blake and Jenny Slate that hinted at exactly this kind of behind-the-scenes maneuvering.
There are some new text messages that have been unsealed between Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover. These were in the same lump as unsealed documents as the one I mentioned the other day with Jenny Slate, between Jenny Slate and Blake Lively. And these ones tells us a lot about what was going on behind the scenes. It made me think about these text messages when I received this email from Mary Kate. Thank you so much for sending me this. She said, I was thinking about the Colleen Hoover of it all, and the text between Jenny and Blake kind of undermining her. Well, that made me think of and go back to Ryan's email to Colleen after the premiere where he says, "Holy F, you did it," etc. I read up that text message.
And what these texts show, when you actually read them carefully, is a masterclass in love bombing, in grooming, in making someone feel so chosen, so seen, so special that they'd do anything for you. Colleen Hoover is a genuinely beloved author. Millions of readers, real emotional connection with her audience. And she had never been involved in a film production before this one. She said it herself, over and over. She didn't know how movies were made. She was learning. She was excited. She was vulnerable to someone who knew exactly how to make her feel important. Blake worked that vulnerability like a professional.
You are right. So here is a text exchange between Blake and Colleen. This is from May 21st or May 20th to May 21st between the two of them when Blake Lively is in this bake-off with Justin Baldoni about the edit of the movie. So the two of them are going back and forth about changing up some scenes. And Colleen Hoover has a lot of ideas and Blake is kind of shutting her down, saying, yeah, that wouldn't really work because of this and that. Because Colleen is saying that, I think this pause is really important, blah, blah, blah.
In these texts, Blake is shutting down Colleen's script suggestions one by one, politely, strategically, while making Colleen feel like a creative partner. She'd say things like, "That's smart, I'll try it, I just tweaked it a little," keeping just enough of Colleen's ideas to make her feel heard, dismissing the rest, acting as the director, the screenwriter, the authority, even though none of those were her titles. Somi actually reversed most of Blake's changes before the final cut.
And it ended up being more or less just Justin's version that was shown. And then Colleen love bombs Blake, saying, last week when you said you love and are obsessed with work, I got really jealous because I used to feel that passion for writing. I get up early and stay up late and never sleep. And my kids were your kids' ages. Yet I'd still somehow power through and get shit done. But this past week has been so much fun working on notes and thinking about the movie and being excited for it all over again and not sleeping. I miss this and now I'm wondering if it's a result of me, like I lost input in the one book I wrote that means something to me. So thank you for helping me get that back. I know nothing about film, but it's been exciting learning.
But that's a detail Blake never shared with Colleen. And then Colleen, grateful, emotional, opened up. She told Blake she'd lost her passion for writing. That working on the movie had brought it back. That Blake had helped her feel alive again creatively. It was a tender, honest moment from a woman who trusted someone she believed was her friend. Blake's response? I want to pause here for a second, because honestly, when I read this, something in me felt genuinely sad. Not for Blake, for Colleen. Blake told her, yours is the only opinion I care about in this film, because you know your audience better than anyone.
She complained to Justin and the Wayfarer parties for not listening to her enough as well. And then Blake responds with this. She says, "This text honestly made my week. This job has been the hardest of my life for more reasons than I can articulate. All I had was the work. That was it. So I became possessed." Yes, you could say that. I couldn't want any validation of my feelings or experience. That wasn't realistic because it would involve me having to share, and in that maybe mess up someone else's experience. But slowly I watched the people around me unfortunately have.
I know your value, and I feel you know mine. She called Colleen a big gold plot twist at the happy ending of this hellscape, poured affection and gratitude all over her. And Colleen ate it up. Because who wouldn't? She looked up to someone like Blake her whole life, and suddenly that person was calling her the most important voice in the room. And then the premiere came. Ryan Reynolds showed up. Blake showed up. The Hollywood machine kicked into full gear. And Colleen Hoover, the woman whose book made the entire film possible, the woman Blake had been texting breathless praise just weeks before, got a form email from Ryan the next day, apologizing for not finding time to talk to her at the event. He didn't even call. An email. And based on what we know now about how these two operate, I don't think that was an oversight. I think they were already done with her. Mission accomplished. Colleen had served her purpose.
Blake was always the cool girl at school, someone that Colleen probably looked up to and could never hang around because she wasn't one of the cool girls at school. And I feel that's quite spot on here. How Colleen is letting herself be manipulated by Blake. And now finally she can hang out with the cool girl that she couldn't hang out with in high school. So yeah, back to what Mary Kate said. I agree with you. I think as soon as Blake and Ryan were done with Colleen, they were like, okay, now we can just leave her out there until we need her next time. Now let's move.
Now it was time to move on to the next person to love bomb, to use, to discard. Colleen deleted her Instagram during the height of the drama. Brandon Sklenar deleted his entire account.
Lively, and the same goes for Brandon Sklenar. But just a reminder to everyone what Brandon actually said in his initial post when he was supporting Blake Lively. He went on and on about how you should support women and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of this post, he said, "All I ask is that before you spread hate on the internet, ask yourself who it's helping. Ask yourself if your opinions are based in any facts." I love how this all looks so terrible right now. Or if you simply want to be part of something, let's be part of something better together, he suggests. A part of a new story being written for women and all people everywhere. Lead with love and please be kind. Yeah, I mean, talk about aging badly. And then he also attached the complaint and the New York Times article, and I said, "For the love of God, read this." And then he tagged Blake Lively with a.
Every co-star has scrubbed their posts about the film, about Blake. America Ferrara still has her solidarity post up, and her comments section is full of people demanding an apology. And you know what? They're right to demand it. It is okay to be fooled. A lot of good people were fooled. That New York Times piece was convincing. It was designed to be convincing. But when the truth comes out, and it has come out, you own it. You say it out loud. You don't leave a discredited statement pinned to your page while a man's reputation remains destroyed. And that is what this whole thing keeps coming back to. Justin Baldoni, whatever anyone thinks of him personally, faced an orchestrated, documented, coordinated campaign to destroy his name, his career, his family's peace. And the woman behind that campaign just settled for $0, deleted her lawyer's victory posts, and is now posting pictures of pizza in New York while her team calls it a moral triumph. Ryan Reynolds is out here quietly refollowing old co-stars he reportedly iced out. Suddenly, TJ Miller wants everyone to know they're friends again.
On the beach drinking rosé. Not a very good look for the actor. As you know, his stardom just took off. Earlier this year, he was nominated for an Oscar for his performance in Frankenstein, and he was all over the internet when he was promoting Wuthering Heights with Margot Robbie. But now he's followed his fellow Oscar nominee Timothée Chalamet's footsteps by starting to date a Jenner or Kardashian. So many people think this is not a good look for him to even be dating a Kardashian, but I guess you can't really choose who you fall in love with, and a lot of people have problems or issues with these girls. But the fact that he didn't show up at Cannes as a jury member, which should be such an
Suddenly, Morena Baccarin is posting throwbacks, and Ryan's reposting them with a smile. You already know what I'm about to say. That's not reconciliation. That's reputation repair. That's a couple that knows the ground is shifting, and they're trying to get back in front of it.
that is going to kill the movie before it even gets a chance. So this year, there are not a lot of movie stars present at the Cannes Film Festival. Interestingly enough, Jacob Elordi was invited to be a jury member alongside Demi Moore and others. I've seen a lot of Demi Moore from the red carpet in Cannes. It seems like she's the only celebrity there somehow. But Jacob Elordi was supposed to go, and then he said that he had broken his foot. But today, there are some new pictures of him with Kendall Jenner in Hawaii.
So here's where I leave you, because I want you to really sit with this question. Blake Lively had access to $50 million. She had a platform most people couldn't dream of. She had lawyers, PR firms, elite crisis management operatives, and the full weight of a sympathetic press cycle behind her. And Colleen Hoover, a woman who writes books about surviving emotional abuse, got used as a prop in someone else's power play and didn't even get a phone call the night it mattered most. Who are the real victims in this story? And why does it feel like the people with the least power keep paying the highest price, while the people with the most just keep deleting the evidence and moving on? Tell me what you think in the comments, because I think you already know the answer.